Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on just one really detailed, very vivid firsthand account of a near-death experience, an NDE.
Right. And our goal is to unpack what this specific story from a woman named Renata D tells us about consciousness, maybe purpose, belief.
Exactly. This isn't like a broad survey. We're looking closely at her journey, which started with a pretty traumatic event back in 1983.
Yes, April 19th, 1983, to be specific. She was in the Navy, had a serious motorcycle accident right outside the base, and her account is just incredibly rich, especially, regarding what she sensed, saw, felt, and how it completely changed her life afterward.
So we're going to trace it all, from that moment of trauma, the separation from her body, right through to the decades-long impact it had.
Let's start right at that transition point, because it sounds incredibly sudden.
It does. She was in the Navy, as you said. And her very last memory, of normal physical reality, it was just getting ready to swing her leg over the motorcycle. That's it.
And then nothing until she's in the hospital. The source material says the next thing she clearly remembers is sound, medical staff.
Yeah, doctors, nurses, blue scrubs moving fast, getting ready to move her, she thinks.
And she hears them counting, like they do. 1, 2, 3.
That count. That seems to be the actual trigger point, doesn't it?
It really does, because right after 3, bam, separation. She's not on the gurney anymore. She's floating.
Floating above her body, looking down.
Explicitly outside her physical self. That's what she reported, very clearly.
Okay, now here's a key thing for us, especially, when people talk about what causes NDEs neurologically. Her state of mind during this.
Right. You'd think maybe confusion, shock, trauma, chemical stuff happening in the brain.
Exactly. But she described her consciousness, her alertness right then, as being better, sharper, more conscious than her normal day-to-day state.
Which is completely counterintuitive, isn't it? Not delirium, not fuzziness, heightened awareness.
That's the core paradox here, I think. Consciousness seems crystal clear, maybe even amplified.
Yes, amplified. And she directly linked that clarity to understanding things differently, like suddenly grasping how fragile life is.
Wait a minute, though. Physically, she's just had a massive trauma. Wouldn't sort of standard medical thinking suggest consciousness should be shutting down, fading?
Well, that's precisely the challenge these accounts pose to purely physical explanations. If it's all just brain chemistry under stress, how do you get more clarity, more coherence when the brain is compromised?
It doesn't quite fit the model.
It doesn't. She reported peak awareness, peak understanding, right when her body was at its most vulnerable. And she said this instantly boosted her empathy. Understanding fragility made her feel more connected to others.
Okay, so that heightened awareness is the foundation. Let's follow her out of that hospital room scene then. Where did she go? What was this other place like? Because this is where the sensory stuff gets really interesting.
She described entering this realm, clearly not Earth. Very peaceful, she said, almost like a garden. But the senses? They were dialed way up. Both sight and hearing were, and this is her phrase, incredibly more vivid than usual. Vision was brighter, more illuminated. Hearing was sharper, clearer, like hyper-real.
Wow. Hyper-real senses.
Yeah.
And dominating all of this. There was a light, right?
Right, yeah. A light. She called it the brightest illumination of white. So bright, it just overshadowed everything else around her.
And here's another paradox. It wasn't harsh or frightening.
Yeah.
An overpowering light sounds like it could be alarming.
Not according to her account. Quite the opposite. She felt this incredible peace or pleasantness, also incredible joy. She really stressed that point. It was the most amazing calm she'd ever known. Zero fear. Nothing eerie about it.
Just pure peace, despite the intensity. What about time? That often gets weird in these accounts.
It did here, too. Time basically just stopped mattering. She said she had no idea if it lasted 5 minutes or a few hours.
Time just wasn't relevant anymore.
Exactly. Everything felt like it was happening all at once. When you're in that kind of state, that deep calm and clarity, linear time often just dissolves,
Makes sense. And while we're comparing this to other NDEs, it's interesting what wasn't there, too. Some classic elements seem to be missing.
Good point. It really shows how varied these experiences can be. Renata reported no life review, that panoramic playback of your life.
Right, now that.
No tunnel either, which is
Man.
probably the most famous NDE image for many people. And no deceased relatives showing up.
No grandparents or lost friends greeting her.
Nope. Her experience was really focused. Just the light, that incredible peace, and the main event, the encounter.
Let's get to that. So she's in this timeless, peaceful, illuminated space.
Yeah.
And then what?
She comes face to face with a figure, someone she instantly knew. She said she knew to be Jesus.
Okay. Did she describe him?
Fairly traditional description, actually, wearing a white robe, brownish gray hair. And this figure did something specific.
Which was?
He stretched out his hand toward her and delivered a message. Very short, very direct.
What did he say?
It's not your time yet.
It's not your time yet.
And then she was back, instantly back in her body. The experience was over.
Wow. Okay. Now, this is where it gets intellectually really fascinating, I think, because we have to talk about her background before this happened, her beliefs.
Yes, this is critical because her religious upbringing before the NDE was, well, she herself described it as confusing.
Confusing is putting it mildly. She was born Jewish, but also involved with Romanian Orthodox traditions.
Right. She mentioned going to synagogue on Saturday, then being taken to Greek Orthodox church on Sunday. Her feeling was she was just sort of dragged everywhere.
So not deeply rooted in any one tradition, more like religiously mixed up or even secularized by that point.
Pretty much. Unaffiliated, secular, maybe agnostic. That seems to be the picture in 1983.
Which creates this massive inconsistency, doesn't it? The central figure in her NDE is Jesus. But that specific figure wasn't really aligned with her confused secular background at the time.
Exactly. It directly challenges that idea that NDEs are just, your brain playing back your existing cultural expectations or hopes. Her experience didn't match her pre-existing framework.
So if it didn't come from her own expectations, where did that specific image, that message come from?
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder about the source of the experience itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's truly external.
It absolutely does. For Renata, this wasn't like, oh, this confirms what I always thought. It was a disruption, a complete turnaround. She said afterwards she knew, definitely there is a God. It changed everything for her.
Okay, so let's pivot then to the impact. The so what? We've got the trauma, the unexpected clarity, the paradoxical encounter. What happened in Renata's life after this? Long term.
The changes were profound and they stuck. First off, religion. Since the accident, she became a practicing Christian and remained so for many years. But maybe even bigger than that was her view on death itself.
She lost her fear of dying, right? That fundamental human fear just gone.
Completely gone, erased. But it's more than just not being afraid. It was replaced by something else. Almost. Curiosity.
Curiosity. How so?
She actually said something quite unusual. Her words were, "My thing is that I want to know how to do so next time."
Wow. Like she sees it as an interrupted journey she wants to understand better, not something terrifying to avoid.
Exactly. That shift from dread to, well, almost an academic interest in the process is huge psychologically.
Absolutely huge. And what about that empathy you mentioned earlier? Did that translate into action?
It did. Remember that heightened awareness, that sense of life's fragility? It gave her a new sense of purpose. She felt she received specific knowledge during the NDE about what she was supposed to do.
Which was?
To take care of people. That was the mission she felt she was given.
And that wasn't just a nice thought. She actually did something with it.
Yes, she turned it into concrete action. She started volunteering with hospice, using that calm, that clarity she remembered to help comfort people who were facing death, trying to share some of that peace, perhaps.
Using her own experience to connect with others in that difficult time. That's powerful. Did it change her everyday relationships too?
Drastically, she said. She became more aware of other people's feelings, less self-focused, maybe more present for others.
And the memory itself. Did it fade like other memories?
No, apparently not. She reported remembering the NDE much more clearly than other things that happened around that same time in her life. She called the out-of-body part the pivotal point in my life. It stayed vivid.
Which is interesting, considering how hard it was for her to talk about it initially.
Extremely hard. She waited 5 years. 5 whole years before telling anyone.
Why?
She was afraid people would think she was crazy. Simple as that. And even when she did share it, like with her own mother, it didn't go over well.
Her mother didn't believe her.
Nope. Renata said her mother really didn't believe me and still does not today.
So she had this incredibly powerful, life-changing internal experience, but got zero external validation, even from family.
Right. Which kind of underscores how real it must have felt to her. She didn't need anyone else's approval to completely change her life based on it.
The internal certainty was enough. From religious confusion and trauma to this clear, empathetic purpose.
That's the trajectory.
So, to wrap this up for you listening, Renata D's story is this really focused look at how trauma can, paradoxically, lead to incredible clarity. You have these hyper-vivid senses, this overwhelming light, but paired with total peace. And then an encounter that didn't fit her background but delivered a message, it's not your time yet, that was powerful enough to erase her fear of death and give her a whole new purpose in life, centered on caring for others.
And there's one last little piece, a kind of echo of the experience in her later life, which is quite thought-provoking.
Oh, what's that?
Renata mentioned that the connection to that light wasn't entirely severed when she came back. She said she can sometimes get that light at certain times, especially when I am deep in worship with God.
Interesting. Like she can still access a feeling related to it.
Perhaps. It suggests that maybe the state she entered isn't completely sealed off, only accessible through near death. And it leaves us with a question, really, something for you to think about. If that feeling, that illuminated peace, left a kind of residue she can still sometimes sense, could aspects of these incredibly profound experiences actually be revisited? Or maybe even cultivated intentionally through things like deep spiritual practice or meditation? Can that door be opened, even just a crack, without needing the trauma?
Thank you for listening to Borrowed Time NDE podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss a moment of inspiration. Until next time, wishing you an extraordinary and truly wonderful time on your journey through life.